Welcome back YouTubers, I'm Tim and I welcome you to Wednesday's Crystal Day. So every Wednesday I'm going to have a different crystal that I'll talk about. So it's a beautiful way to share my knowledge and to share what I've been working with for over the last 16 years. My very first crystal was the Amethyst Crystal, that's why I'm presenting it to you today. And I just want to show you how to work with your crystals. What can you do with them? Now you bought them, what do? How do you place them in the home? Where should you place them in the home? These are why I'm bringing these videos out, so people can actually start working with the tools that you have. Amethyst is such a stunning crystal when it comes to manifestation. Anything you place under an amethyst crystal will start manifesting within 21 days of you putting it there. So it's a beautiful one. If you need new clients, if you need to pay bills, if people owe you money, write it on a piece of paper, place it underneath the amethyst and leave it until it manifests. When it starts manifesting, you can then change those slips out and burn them and release them back into the universe. So as they start manifesting, you want to then take that old slip, burn it completely and rewrite a new one. This does, however, maintain that you're going to have to look after your crystal and what you are putting underneath this crystal, because what we find a lot of the times is that we forget. It might stay there for years or months, and then we haven't moved that crystal, okay? So all crystals, in all fairness, need to be cleansed. If you think of it this way, in a nicer way, they're coming from, being mined under masses of earth, and they're being pulled and ripped out of the earth. The mine is touching the crystals, and they would have touched them, their energy would have gone into the crystal. The people buying or walking past this crystal before me buying it would have touched it, would have looked at it, would have put the energy into it. So these crystals just absorb and absorb and absorb. So it's really important that whatever you do, you want to make sure that you have cleansed your crystals. Now, the reason why I'm saying this, you will go completely crazy if you're wearing this crystal all the time and it absorbs so much negative energy that then goes into your aura and makes sure that you are now saturated. You'll know this you'll be hyper. You'll be in your mind all the time. You'll go into suspicious behavior or jealousy. You'll find you'll lose your mind a little bit. So crystals are never bad. I'm just saying sometimes when the crystal is saturated, it will then send that negative energy into your space. So you always want to cleanse your crystals. And the way we can do that is we can put it into brown rice, uncooked brown rice, a bowl of uncooked brown rice. If there are my healing stones, now healing stones I'll get through in another part of this video, but I will cleanse healing stones after every client and make sure that they are clean for every client I'm working on. So just so that I know that I'm only putting good energy into my healing treatments, into my Reiki, and you can blend Reiki with crystal healing. It's such a beautiful combination that you can do for yourself, that you can then combine what you know in healing. So from sound healing to healing with tuning forks, crystal healing, color therapy, all of which you can combine into your Reiki sessions from today onwards. And it is a beautiful blend, and I'll show you how in later videos. Now, amethyst, in the olden days, the properties of amethyst is to soothe, to heal anxiety, depression, repulse evil eye, usually placed on the third eye, of course a small little piece for the third eye. We want to make sure that they are soft pieces if they're working in the healing crystals, and let's talk about that now. So healing crystals, I use the tumble pieces, soft, smooth, preferably flat on one side, brilliant for the crystals, and usually about no bigger than this little black piece that you can see over here. I use that as my healing crystals that I'm placing on a client. These bigger pieces can go around the aura or underneath the bed, the healing bed, and that will still work from underneath the bed. That's perfectly fine. The radius of the energy of one of these crystals will go probably about 9 to 10 meters out of the crystal easily, not even a joke. Even a small crystal about this size would emit an energy field of at least 3 meters. So a bigger size crystal can go bigger, but it's not size always matters in crystals. A small crystal can equate the size of this crystal. It all depends on where it's harvested and what energy it absorbed. So let's go backtrack. Why would we use an amethyst crystal? Amethyst is beautiful. it is such a stunning stone. When placed in the middle of a room, it will bring calmness into a space, especially if your energy, if your home is very male dominant, like you got 2 boys and a daughter, or you know, just a lot of men in your household. Amethyst calms men down. It brings them back to center. It allows them to be in their power without exerting force, if that makes sense. So if someone is very angry, amethyst is one of those crystals you really want in your space. Of course, it's for manifestation of goals and whatever you need. So place it under the crystal. Whatever you need on a piece of paper, place it underneath the crystal. Another way you can use to cleanse the amethyst is you could even run it through smoke, incense smoke, sage, American white sage, mempepu, which is in South Africa, we have that. Palo Santo, the holy wood from Peru. And a lot more of the other ways. There's visualization, you can pour love into it, that will also cleanse it. Any quartz can go into salt water. Any crystal with the ITE at the end of the name, like calcite, celestite, cannot go into water. That will dissolve, I'm afraid. They're very soft mineral, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? It would literally, if you leave it long enough, and I have had that happen before with a fluorite crystal of mine, the crystal dissolved in the water and it was gone. So please don't make that mistake. You know, in the old traditions, they will bury the crystal. I don't recommend it. I've lost so many crystals due to burying them in the garden, thinking I'm clever, not marking where I put them, and then going back in again, and they were completely missing. So just so you know, the fairies and elves love crystals. Anything sparkly, they'll take it, you know. Crystals can also be programmed for intent. So I could sell this crystal, cleanse all negativity from a space. The way I do it, and I program a crystal, is I hold the intention in my mind. I think of the job I'm going to do for this crystal needs to do for me. So let's say I want this crystal to remove all negativity from my space. I hold the energy in my mind. I transfer that to my breath, and I blow that thought into the crystal 3 times. To further put the energy into this crystal, I can then draw the Reiki symbols over the crystal big 3 times. Chakra, 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 tap 3 times. Okay? You can do that for all the Reiki symbols you might have, any other healing modality symbols you can put into your crystal, and the crystal will then bring that into the space. You can also program this crystal to be self-cleaning. Now, if you look in the back of the crystal, you got this flat surface. In the back of this crystal, on the far back over here, you can't see it. Obviously, this is the front, this is the back. There's a matrix of energy. These crystals will move energy from point to point. So a crystal cluster will always clean itself, okay? It's not like the ball on the table over here, where it has no matrix, and therefore it will absorb negative energy and then emit negative energy when it's full. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Every 6 months you want to clean your crystals. You want to make sure that they are safe, that they are well cared for. Every 6 months I also take them out into and under the full moon. So what I like to do is create a ring of salt, add some incense as a gift, place all my crystals in the middle of that salt, and I leave it overnight under a full moon. So just take a notice of when the energy of full moon is coming up, and let your energy of the crystals and the full moon charge the full night. And in the early hours of the morning before the sun rises, I go and fetch my crystals. And there's a reason why we go fetch it before the sunrise, is that the sun can actually absorb the energies of the moon that's left on the planet. So we want to take them away from the sun the next day. Okay, so I put all of them out the night before, doesn't matter what time. Put a ring of salt to protect my crystals from negative energy. I put incense inside that ring as a gift to the moon. And you can light a little tea light candle if you want, that's perfectly fine. And I leave it to charge right overnight. And the energies of the full moon will energize any crystal that looks dead or numb or it looks a little bit dull. If you've ever seen a crystal that is dead, look at it, and if it doesn't sparkle, doesn't shine, if it has no rainbows inside, it means that that crystal needs to be really cleansed. Now in that case, if it's that dead, I would normally give it back to earth. I will let it go back. Okay, if a crystal falls and shatters, I always recommend you give it back to earth, because what happens to that crystal is that it absorbs something from you, a trauma maybe, and by falling on the ground, it has dispensed that energy, so no harm comes to you at all. So crystals are always working on our best behalf. There are angels, there's beings looking after these crystals. Every time you buy a crystal, your life will shift in most positive ways, I can promise you that. So please, if you can, always cleanse your crystals. Don't worry about people touching your crystals. I really, in all fairness, maybe they just need the energy of that crystal, so maybe just allow them to. You can always cleanse them afterwards. Maybe that crystal is calling their energy and they just get drawn to it. If you notice, when kids go into a shop with crystals, they go crazy. They just want to touch every crystal, They'll even want to bring it to their mouth. It's almost like that absorbing of the energies, So always trust your kids when it comes to crystals. Buy them crystals, put them underneath the pillow. Of course, when they're babies, put them in such a way that they can be completely away from the child's mouth, and maybe underneath the bed if you want, and that will work. So for insomnia, place the crystal underneath your pillow. It's absolutely amazing. In your car, put it in the car. You can also put a big crystal like this in the far left corner of your room. And there's a reason why the far left corner. The far left corner of any room is your wealth corner. And this is a stone to bring in a consistent flow of wealth and abundance. This is why I brought this geode into this video, just to give you understanding. This geode is like a master manifesto of really good energy. Placing the energy point of the far left corner of any room, it will bring in masses of good energy, okay, into your space. It just automatically does that. If you can't put it in the far left corner, in the middle of the room is just perfectly fine as well. Now, I just want to go back a few steps over here. In the olden days, they would put amethyst in their wine glasses or their wine goblets. It's been believed in the olden days to prevent being drunk or getting drunk, in all fairness. So it's an absolutely versatile stone. You can wear it as a pendant around your neck if you ever wanted to. I find crystals on me when I get too overly sensitive. I then take that crystal off and I put it on a crystal cluster, because then it can cleanse. It just shows me, hang on, this crystal's getting too full now. Even your jewelry, your rings, your bracelets, your pendants, you want to put it on a crystal cluster to cleanse. Okay. The crystal balls are absolutely amazing when doing readings, to have it next to you, to tap into the energy of that. The energy of a sphere is more of a rounded energy, whereas the points, direct energy. So when working with crystals and with points, if you see this big piece over here, I don't think you can see that, but I always cap the energy at the end of that point before handing it to a person, because you never want to have a termination, and I'll show you in a later video what I mean, pointing at someone's aura, because the aura is like this fine, very fine, delicate field. If I'm taking a point and I'm cutting, I'm creating a hole, and then life force energy leaves my aura, and you can be drained. So just be aware, being very careful around crystals. They're not just little toys that you can play with. For kids, they're fine, because kids won't activate it in that way. They know better. But adults can actually hurt themselves with crystals. They didn't even know that. Okay, so don't worry about it too much. I'll explain this in the precautionary video in a later date. So I ask you to tune in for that as well. So working with crystals, I love to put them in the far left corner of my room. If I'm going to wear them, I wear them as a pendant personally, because it's out of the way. They can just hang over here by my heart. The energy of my heart will then saturate the room, with an intention of whatever program that crystal for. Okay, and it's beautiful to combine the Reiki with the crystal healing and have all these different ways of working the Reiki energies now, because we've got so many more advanced techniques. Reiki and healing have speeded up in these later days. When I first done Reiki, my treatments were about 90 minutes treatments, in all fairness. And you know, so that's how long it took to bring down 1 hour's healing. It was a 90-minute session. Now the same amount of energy of a full 90-minute session comes down in 20 minutes. So just be aware, energies have speeded up on this planet. You know, the healing qualities of crystals and everything else we bring in shortens the times of your healing. So just be very aware, maybe a 20-minute, half an hour sitting is more than enough of active work, and then leave them lying on your healing bed with the crystals on for the rest of the time. Okay, so actively work for 20 minutes in your healing, and then for the rest of the times of 40 minutes, leave them with some beautiful music playing, and you'll find you'll be so serene afterwards. You can also put all your crystals around your aura and just go lie in the middle of it. And I promise you now, you will be out of this world. It will be completely blissful for your aura. You'll feel like a new person. So if you're feeling very drained, especially these empaths at the moment, they are very, very sensitive to energies. And this is the reason why I'm doing these videos, so we can get the energies and the old ways back into our daily routine. You know, so in all fairness, I give them my knowledge because I've got so much of it. You know, I started my journey when I was 16. And I fell in love with crystals. This is what got me onto my path. You know, so by giving crystals as gifts to friends and family, it's going to make them wake up a bit. You know, the angels working with each stone will not leave them alone. So I went to a crystal shop. I saw these little crystals there. I bought a few, didn't know what they were. I thought they were just pretty, put them in my pocket. And I kept on working with these crystals in my hands, and I couldn't put them down, and I didn't understand why. And what happened was, I went online onto Google, thank goodness for Google at that time, and I read up the qualities of that crystal, and it was exactly what I was needing at that time. So don't underestimate. If you go to a crystal shop and you see all these crystals on the table, and you get drawn to this one stone, and you put it down, you check other stones, and you come back again, just trust your intuition. That stone's calling you. As soon as I feel that pull to that stone, I know I have to buy it. So unless it's a massive big piece, which is going to be so freaking expensive, but so freaking worth it. So I hope you've enjoyed my video. I will share more with you in future videos on every Wednesday. It's going to be a slot that I'm going to do crystals galore. Every crystal I own, I'll be talking about them, and I'll be teaching you how to use them in your daily life. I'll also like to, one last final thing, I'll also like to put a nice little piece of amethyst into my wallet or my purse. Of course not my purse. And that is an amazing way to make sure that there's always a consistent flow of wealth and abundance around me. So just as a final tip. So I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Much love to you. I'm Timothy from Minnen, and please join me for all my other videos. And every Wednesday you'll find a new crystal video, and I hope you can be part of that as well. Thank you so much.